So Alabama is the first team out. And as an Alabama fan, I'm not really mad at that. Uh, I personally believe that we did not deserve to be in. Um, Now, how can I say this? I felt Alabama should have been in the playoff, college football playoff, but we didn't play or we didn't do what we were supposed to do to be in. Now, we're gonna see quickly how the college football playoff committee got wrong. Um, I don't think that all divisions are equal. I do believe a two-loss team in the ACC, two-loss team in the ACC is not better than a three-loss team in the SEC. Um, you could easily put Ole Miss in there, South Carolina in there, but this is going to be a true bracket buster, and I can really see that we'll have three teams in the semifinals from the SEC. Um, there's no way Clemson goes out and beats an angry Texas with Sark. Uh, then you go play Arizona State, and Arizona State we know is cheese. Tennessee does not. Tennessee rolls over Ohio State, and then Oregon. We're going to see how fraud Oregon is because Oregon's the biggest fraud team in this bracket. I don't feel that Oregon is the best team in college football, and we don't. I don't feel that. I know Oregon's not the best team in college football, and we all know this. They just played in the Big Ten where they didn't play anybody. SMU Penn State's going to be the trash ball. Boise State may squeak away a win against this Penn State team. But this Fiesta Bowl is the most garbage bowl of all of them all because you're getting the weakest team in the conference. Now, Indiana, and Notre Dame. You got two hogwash teams. If whoever wins this game, it doesn't say, oh, they should have been there. What's going to happen is this. We're going to see if the SEC is truly strong. And I like the way they did this. So SEC teams don't face each other into the semifinals. But we can easily have a Texas-Tennessee semifinal with a Georgia in there. And then the committee has to rethink, okay, if SEC team is dominating these teams in the college football playoff, what happens next year? SMU does not deserve to be in the college football playoff, right? You could have put Miami in there. If you don't put Alabama, you could have put Miami in there. But if you look, SMU lost their championship game. They're 11-2, right? I'll say that. They lost to BYU, and their best win of the season is against a number 18 Pitt and a Louisville number 22, which I don't think they even finished ranked. Louisville finished the season 8-4, and I don't think they're even ranked. Louisville wasn't even ranked at the end of the season. And then you got Pittsburgh, who I don't think was ranked either. So your best wins are against teams that aren't even ranked. Over Alabama that beat Georgia. And your losses came against BYU, which I think BYU is ranked. BYU should not be ranked. But came against your loss came against BYU. And then in the championship game against Clemson. So I don't. This SMU should never be in there. Now Arizona State's the biggest one that like I said, Arizona State deserves to be in there, and I do appreciate how they said, hey, look, conference winners. How can I say appreciate? They basically said conference winners should be in there. I get that, right? But all conferences are not made the same. And Arizona State won the Big 12. But let's look at Arizona State's schedule. Arizona State's best loss was against a Texas Tech team and a Cincinnati team. Cincinnati is, I don't think, is ranked. And Texas Tech, I don't think, is ranked either. So, yeah, against two unranked teams. What are Arizona State's best wins? Against an Iowa State team, a BYU and Kansas State team? Like, they really don't have any quality wins. And Arizona State should be in there. I'll give you that. The Indiana bracket is the craziest thing as well too, because we know Notre Dame doesn't play anybody. Like Notre Dame being independent and them being able to adjust their schedule. Like Notre Dame is 11-1, right? Let's look at who they played. Their best win is against A&M. They played Northern Illinois, lost to them. Purdue, Miami, Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, Navy, Florida State, Virginia, Army, USC. They didn't play anybody. Right? Their best win is against the A&M team at the beginning of the season when A&M was trying to figure out life. This A&M team, actually finished horribly, but this A&M team, was kind of up and down all season. A&M's best win is against Missouri. That's it. This A&M team was not the A&M team of the past. Jimbo Fisher might be gone out there, by the way. But Notre Dame didn't play a soul. Now let's look at Indiana's record. Indiana's best win. Check this out. Indiana doesn't have one win against a ranked team. Not one win against a ranked team on their schedule. And I want to go to say Indiana doesn't have one win against a ranked team that is even ranked now. Indiana in the Big Ten completely avoided competition. Now, there's not much competition in the Big Ten, but they're there because they avoided competition. They beat, you can't say anybody, they have one loss against Ohio State where they got slaughtered. Right? They didn't play anybody, so they're here by default because they avoided playing anybody. The hardest conference in college football to play in is the SEC. Now, remember, they're doing SEC South and SEC North. They're still kind of doing that. And what that means is, like, look at Alabama's schedule. Alabama schedule is this. They have a Georgia, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU. They have 14, but I'll even say this. They have LSU, Tennessee, and Georgia. That might be the toughest 3 games that anybody can play in college football. LSU, at LSU, in Baton Rouge, Georgia, and then Tennessee. Right? Then, if you look at Georgia plays an Alabama, a Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and played Texas twice. So, Georgia's playing some tough teams. They're not escaping intent. They're not playing any tough teams. Look at Texas. I think Texas benefited as well too. Texas played a Georgia team twice. That's it. They played a washed-up A&M team. But you look at their schedule, they really only played a Georgia team. They were able to avoid competition. When you look at someone like an Ole Miss or South Carolina, let's see what South Carolina had to go through, Ole Miss had to go through. Ole Miss was 9-3, but Ole Miss had to play LSU, Georgia. Right, so they played two tough games on their schedule. South Carolina, who they play? South Carolina went 9-3. They played Ole Miss, they played Alabama, and they beat Clemson, who's in the college football playoff, and I won't even count A&M and Missouri, even though they're ranked 10 and 23, but their schedule was tougher. Ole Miss, Alabama, and LSU. You can't avoid tough games in the SEC. The top 7 teams in the SEC could easily be in the college football playoff. And we want these teams to be equal, but they're not equal. Right? Boise State didn't play a soul. Like, I don't understand why we're even thinking that Boise State played a soul. Boise State's best win was against a 20th ranked UNLV. That's their best win. They didn't play a soul. They didn't play anybody. Boise State did not play anybody. And they played Georgia and they lost by 3. Oregon, they lost by 3. Caleb Downs said the best with Nick Saban. He said, you know what? Every game, he said they weren't prepared. When you play in the SEC, you have to be prepared every week. That deep South football is unmatched anywhere in the college football. And when you think about deep South football and college football, every game is not just about. It's not just about. Oh, Place. Deep South football is not just about, oh, I'm playing a game, a conference game. I'm playing across state lines. I'm playing against families. I'm playing against tradition. I'm playing against history. When you play Deep South football, that's what these guys think about. They think about this. They think about all of these things. And the thing about it is, most of these players, there's a small margin of 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 athleticism and quality that separates them. The recruiting pretty much, and some of these in Deep South football is pretty much even. It might be a slight curve. So all it takes is the right time, the right energy to go and then punch somebody in the mouth. When you play for Alabama, you're gonna get everybody's punch. Now, I talked about Alabama. Alabama, Jalen Milroe needs to just graduate. Get him out the way. Kalen DeBoer took on a project that he could not handle. Right? And the fact that we didn't use Kendrick Law the way we should have just frustrated me. But Alabama, like, you have to be good every week. Georgia, you have to be good every week. Right? And we saw that happen with Ohio State. Ohio State didn't play anybody either. You may look at me like I'm crazy, but who did Ohio State play? Let's look at Ohio State's schedule and see who they played that was really tough. Right? Other than Oregon, right? That's the only team they play. Because Oregon's best win is against the number 2 Ohio State. They played 2 ranked teams in the regular season. And Illinois is dookie. Because Illinois didn't play anybody. But then you have Penn State. They played Penn State. Penn State didn't play a soul. Let's look at Penn State. Like, you see where I'm getting at? Penn State's toughest game was against Ohio State, and they lost. They played a ranked team, and they lost. They didn't play anybody. Penn State played no one. But if you look at Ohio State's schedule, just want to show you guys why even Ohio State's not playing tough teams. Their toughest game was against Ohio. They played a number 3 Oregon, Penn State, who we know is trash, and then Indiana. Like, I don't understand why Penn State's even in here. Like, it just baffles me. Like, Penn State literally has no quality wins. Like, your resume, Penn State's best win is against a number 19 Illinois. I don't think the losing team of a conference game should be in the college football playoff. I'm sorry. I don't think you should reward teams who are losing in college football, and I'm sorry, in conference games. Because there's no quality win. Now, if Oregon would have lost, Oregon should have made it, and Penn State should have made it. But the fact that Penn State didn't play a soul, their best win is against number 19 Illinois. They lost all the games they were supposed to win. Now that they're rewarded for playing SMU, and I'm not going to get on SMU and who they didn't play. So I think right now it's fine. We see, hey, we have the SEC teams in their own individual bracket in the first round, in the quarterfinals. Let's see what they do. And if we see, when we probably will see all SEC or a dominant SEC semifinal, we have to look and say, you know what, next year, all teams aren't built the same.